माधवा कुंज विहारी राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गोपीजना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारी यमुनातीरा वनचारी राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतर्षि श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। So today we are reciting from the 5.25.4th verse. Welcome all of you for the Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning. Yasyangri kamala yugalaruna vishadanakamani Shandamandaleshwahi patayah सहसात्पत ऋषभैर कांत भक्ति योगे नावनमन्तः स्ववदनानि परिस्फुरत् कुंडल प्रभामंडित गंडस्थलांजति मनोहराणि प्रमुदित मनसः खलु विलोकयन्ति। Translation: the pink transparent toenails on the Lord's lotus feet are exactly like valuable gems polished to a mirror finish. When the unalloyed devotees and the leaders of the snakes offer their obeisances to Lord Sankarshan with great devotion, they become very joyful upon seeing their own beautiful faces reflected in his toenails. Their cheeks are decorated with glittering earrings. and the beauty of their faces is extremely pleasing to see. So this is description of Lord Sankarsana. As soon as we say Sankarshan, we may think of either Balaram or we may think of Anantashesha. Anantashesh has a snake-like form, but he also has a beautiful form like Balaram also. Because Balaram is only becoming Anantashesh. So he has a human-like beautiful form also. His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj was telling, when we talk about the Nagas below in the other lokas, lower planetary systems, immediately we think they are like snakes, they are dragging along their body. He said, don't think like that. They all are beautiful human-like forms, he said. But whenever they want, they will change their form to snake-like form. So they can do that. They can change their forms. But generally, in fact, Nagas are also very, very handsome, very beautiful also. He explained that. Beautiful beings. Just like heavenly people also, they can disappear in one form, reappear in another form. They can also, they can hold some jadibuti and then they can disappear in one place, reappear in another place also. Many things they can do. So in the same manner, Sankarshan generally keeps himself in a human-like form, but when he wants to serve Lord Narayana as a bed, so he makes his body into a snake-like body, so he can accommodate Lord, his master in his own body as a snake. So he says here, about him there is description here. The pink, transparent toenails on the Lord's lotus feet are exactly like valuable gems polished to a mirror finish. The Lord's toenails are like ruby-like nails, it is said. When the unalloyed devotees and the leaders of the snakes offer their obeisances to Lord Sankarshan with great devotion, they become very joyful upon seeing their own beautiful faces reflected in his toenails. Which means the Lord's, in the toenails, if you consider them to be like a mirror, in that mirror-like toenails, they are seeing their own faces. This is actually indirectly indicating that they all are servants of the Lord. Because if you are seeing your face in somebody's toenail, where are you situated? Close to his lotus feet. That is the meaning of that. Many times in Sanskrit, when the verses are given, sometimes they have an indirect meaning also. The meaning is, they all consider themselves servants of Anantashesha or Lord Ananta, and they are joyful about being his servant. They are very grateful for being offered that position as his servants. Just like Lord Shiva is also servant of Ananta. Chitraketu is also servant of Ananta also. See, they become very joyful upon seeing their own beautiful faces reflected in his toenails. One day Prabhupada was to be lifted up in a palanquin up to the staircase, and then he was brought down in the staircase. And Prabhupada again got into the car. He told the devotees who were lifting him, I am very sorry for giving you the burden of lifting me. Because right now I am extremely sick, I can't climb up. And they were telling Prabhupada that, no, Swamiji, we are so grateful for having the privilege of lifting you, carrying your body. Did they consider it a burden? No, they consider it a great joy. They thought it's a golden opportunity they got to be of some service to Prabhupada's direct body, Vapu Seva. Correct, no? They were very happy. In the same manner, in the spiritual world, the servants of the Lord are very jolly to be servant of the Lord. There is a kind of joy that comes from being the servant of the Lord. Just like Advaita Acharya wanted to experience that joy of being Lord Chaitanya's servant. In the 7th chapter of the Adi Leela, we read about Advaita Acharya says, Chaitanya Das me Chaitanya Das. Chaitanya Das me Dasa Dasana Das is saying. I am Chaitanya's servant. Either he says. Actually, this is only possible when we first theoretically accept the concept that we are servants of Krishna and then make a beginning of devotional service. As we keep doing devotional service for some time, after some time, slowly this joy of having attained the servitorship of the Lord will gradually awaken in the heart of the devotee. And this is a greatest shelter, the real shelter, the spiritual shelter, undying shelter. one can attain. After having achieved the sense of belonging to the Lord, understanding I am servant, he is master, at that time a devotee becomes completely peaceful. When I was in one of the places, I think San Diego, there they had given a topic dealing with loneliness. That's what all Western bodied devotees attended the program. So I heard this is a very famous topic in the West. So I was telling them two pastimes. I was telling them. One was, you all know this pastime of cows and calves when they heard that Krishna will not wear the slipper. So they all went to the forest and powdered all the Vrindavan so that their master Krishna can walk without any difficulty. So this is the example of service of devotees to the Lord. And another example is Krishna playing a particular tune on the request of the peacocks. So here is the example of master serving the servant. So this is Vrindavan. Both have a very strong sense of belonging to each other. Master. Sometimes Krishna, although he is master, he takes the role of a servant of Arjuna. He becomes a servant of Nanda Baba, carrying the sandals on his head. He is ready to be subordinate to Balram and coward boys. So by that, the intimacy between Lord and the devotees increases by that. So actually, this is the only way to give up loneliness. When we develop that strong sense of belonging to Guru, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, in that one can experience Sukham, the real Brahma Saukhyam, to Anantam. He says, this is actual Brahma Saukhyam. Not going to Brahma Jyoti and clinging there like a parasite, hanging for a while and not able to remain there. That is actually the beginning of the real identity. Full identity, full-blown identity can be seen in the spiritual world between Lord and the devotees. So here their cheeks are decorated with glittering earrings, which means the earrings are all shining in the cheeks. And the beauty of their faces is extremely pleasing to see. So the devotees are also very beautiful. Amongst the devotees, there are two types. There are leaders who are also men, and there are also others who are females also. Both. This is Chakravarti Thakur's translation. Unalloyed devotees and leaders of the snakes, offering their obeisances to Ananta with great devotion, and joyfully see their faces whose cheeks are attractive with the effulgence of glittering earrings, reflected in the mirror of the gem-like brilliant pink toenails of his lotus feet. And then the bracket he has given, Ananta seems to have both a snake form and a human form. Yeah. So this was describes the attractiveness of the Ananta's beauty, okay? They use all the groups of his nails as mirrors. You can look at the Lord's toenails and you can comb your hair. Because it's shining like a mirror, he's saying. Yasyaiva hi Nagaraja Kumarya Ashisha Ashasanaschar Vangabalaya Vilasita Vishada Vipula Dhavala Subhaga Ruchira Bhujara Subhaga Ruchira Bhuja Rajatas Tambheshwa Guru Chandana Kunkuma Pankanu Lepena Valampi Valimpa, it's not Valampi, it's Valimpa. Manas Tadabi Marshanon Matita Marshanon Matita Hridaya Magaradvaja Vesha Ruchira Lalita Smita Astadanuraga Anuraga Madamu Udita Mada Vidurnitaruna Karunavaloka Nayana Badanarabindam Savridam Kila Vilokayanti. Lord Ananta's arms are attractively long, beautifully decorated with bangles, and completely spiritual. Generally, we think bangles are worn only by Matajis. Huh? Sometimes you find one of the pastimes, one queen wanted to give a nose ring to Krishna. You know that? She thought if only Krishna has one hole in the nose, I can give him the nose ring. And then Krishna appeared in her dream and said, "Yes, I have a hole. Yashoda has made a nose hole." That queen offered. Who is that queen? So she offered the. Yeah. Attack. And Sakshagopal only that Sakshagopal deity had a hole in the nose. She offered. Now, and I went to Radha Kalchanji. Kalchanji has a nose ring also. Any of you Prabhujis wear nose ring? See, Lord is beyond the conception of male, female, and all that. He can wear a beautiful nose ring also if he wishes. And he wears bangles also here, says Sri Radha Vandana. Here, Lord Ananta is wearing bangles also. Huh? Yeah. And bracelets also he will wear here. They are white and so they appear like silver columns. Which is appearing like silver column? Hands, the long hands of Lord Ananta. When the beautiful princesses of serpent kings, hoping for the Lord's auspicious blessing. That means the princesses are daughters of the Naga leaders. Correct? No? They are princesses. The serpent kings have the daughters who are called princesses. They are hoping for a Lord's auspicious blessing. They smear his arms with aguru pulp, sandalwood pulp, and kunkuma. The touch of his limbs awakens lusty desires within them. Understanding their minds, the Lord looks at the princesses with a merciful smile and they become bashful, realizing that he knows their desires. Then they smile beautifully and look upon the Lord's lotus face, which is beautified by reddish eyes rolling slightly from intoxication and delighted by love for his devotees. This is Chakravarti Thakur's. It's a very similar type of translation only. The young daughters of the snake king. Instead of princesses, he says the daughters of the snake king, he says. And this is purport by Prabhupada, purport by His Divine Grace. Okay. Purport is here below. When the males and females touch each other's bodies, their lusted desires naturally awaken. It appears from this verse that there are similar sensations in spiritual bodies. Both Lord Ananta and the women giving him pleasure had spiritual bodies. Thus, all sensations originally exist in the spiritual body. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha. Srila Vishwanath Thakur has commented in this connection that the word Adi means Adi Rasa, the original lusty feeling, which is born from the Supreme. However, spiritual lust and material lust are as completely different as gold and iron. Only one who is very highly elevated in spiritual realization can understand the lusty feelings exchanged between Radha and Krishna, or between Krishna and the damsels of Vraja. Therefore, unless one is very experienced and advanced in spiritual realization, he is forbidden to discuss the lusty feelings of Krishna and the gopis. However, if one is a sincere and pure devotee, the material lust in his heart is completely vanquished as he discusses the lusty feelings between the gopis and Krishna. And he makes a quick progress in spiritual life. This last line Prabhupada is based on that famous verse. Vikriditam brajavadu viridam cha vishnoh shraddhanvita anshunaya tatavarnayedya bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam hridrogamashu apahinoti achirena tirah. If you hear about Krishna and the gopis from pure devotees coming in Guru Parampara like Srila Prabhupada, then you will never misunderstand these pastimes, nor will you be bewildered, rather you will become purified. Like that he says. So let us understand what this purport says. See, whatever we heard just now will be understandable when we discuss this topic of 5 arrows of karma at last. The 10 effects of Cupid are described here. Chakshu ragaha pratamam chitta sangas tato ata sankalpaha nidra chedas tanuta vishaya nivritti trapa nasaha. And then unmado murcha mritir iti etaha smara dasha dashaiva syuhu. There are 10 effects of Cupid explained here. First comes attraction expressed through the eyes, then intense attachment in the mind, then determination to attain that object, then loss of sleep, becoming emaciated, disinterested in external things, shameless, madness, becoming stunned, and finally death, he says, maranam. It is from Bhagavatam only. You will get that verse. See, this is 10:40 to 14. Yeah. If you want to get the exact words, what are used, you will see that Chakravarti Thakur says, same 10 symptoms will be there in the path of spirituality also, but the 10th one will not be there. Maranam won't be there. All at the same time. We will see how. Who is this one? Haridas Thakur tempted by the prostitute. So Haridas Thakur did not become agitated, although here she is surrendering to Haridas Thakur. She is coming and she is saying, inviting him for, and then you all know that how he could, maintain his composure because of his advanced chanting. See, during the course of one's life, one sees many members of the opposite sex. There is a natural attraction caused by the arrangement of Maya. And because we identify ourselves with the body, Pumsastriya Mitini Bhava, it produces passionate heat in our bodies, which in turn unleashes the material desires stored within our hearts since time immemorial and also provides the drive to achieve them. Therefore, the Hridaya Granthi is tightened. So, first step is the Dhyato Vishayan Pumsaha. Can you see? Therefore, in spiritual life, the very first thing we should know, surrounding the soul is some, amino acids and magnesium, potassium, and all kinds of calcium. These are the substances that are rubbing over the soul. That is the main body made up of. And of course, inside that there is a subtle body of man, buddhi, ahankara, which are also material. Either gross matter or subtle matter is hovering over the soul, clinging to the soul for a while, after which the soul leaves that body and goes to another body. So people have experience in this world, even if a man, woman, initially they feel repeated contemplation that madness arises. And man contemplates on a woman or woman on a man. Like women are, Prabhupada says in one place, women are attracted to long hands of men for an embrace, and the women are also attracted to a man for his greatness in wealth, or his position, or his fame, or his prestige, or if a man is influential in society, or if he is very heroic and chivalrous. Women are attracted to men for their valor, for their greatness, and for the 6 opulences also, if he possesses. Krishna possesses all of them in full. Men also in this world possess some of the opulences. And if man has and also his loving glance, and his sweet speech, and his smile, and his gentleness is also something that charms the woman, Prabhupada says. In the same manner, men are also charmed by woman's form, especially form. Actually, women are not so charmed by the form generally. Here, although the form is said, occasionally you hear this. Women are attracted to the opulences of the man and his influence, and sometimes the arms of a man which give shelter to the woman, they are attractive. Prabhupada says that. Therefore, here the arms are explained. Of Ananta Shesha is explained. And the men are attracted to the form of the woman. The beauty of the eyes, the nose, the lips, and the face, and the bodily shape, and their tenderness, and their possessing sweetness in their speech. These are men are attracted to this. In this world also it is seen. But none of the chemicals names I told you possess any of this. Calcium, magnesium, potassium, sulfur, all these things in the body. If you take the human body, which is costing 110 rupees, we have studied in US, isn't it? You know, none of these possess any of these emotions. And where are they coming from? So one has to know that I am trapped in a material body. And there is a tendency, there's a, initially, dhyato vishayantamsaha, when you contemplate on each other, man and woman. And the result of the contemplation is sangha, means what? Attachment. And attachment, there's a difference between attraction and attachment. Attraction is preliminary stage. Attachment is a stage where it has become solidified. One develops a very firm attachment for an object, and then one becomes determined to attain that object. And that leads to sangha sanjayate kama. Then the lust develops in one's heart. Therefore, many people say, I'm suffering from lust. Don't think lust comes just like that. If somebody is feeling lusty feelings, that has been developed over a long period of time. It is not that suddenly one day, I don't know where this lust has come. No, it doesn't come one day. It comes only by repeated contemplation. Dhyato vishayantamsaha. Then only it develops as attachment. Attraction becomes attachment. Attachment develops, it leads to lust. Yeah. And then once it develops into lust, one becomes mad. One becomes foolish or insane. One does many wrong things. Lust means adamant attachment for that which is prohibited. One does even prohibited action. Illicit sex, we say now. There are people who have been shot dead by illicit sex. There are people whose bones are broken because of illicit sex. Because one becomes mad by that. So some of us might have wondered, what is this force in this world? This was one of my earliest spiritual longings to know. In my 7th or 8th standard holidays, that was the first time I had this question about what is this lust, anger, and greed? Where are these forces coming from? These pushes, and why the whole world is burning in these three emotions: lust, anger, and greed. What is that? I was curious to know. So most of the impersonal books I read, they talked about getting rid of these emotions, and they said these are all false emotions. Whereas here we read in Bhagavatam, these are not false emotions. These emotions actually exist in the soul originally, but in the purest stage. We will see how it is pure. We will see also today. So here he says here, although there is natural attraction between sexes in the material world, the conditioned souls, especially humans, do not chase after the first visible object of enjoyment. They don't chase generally in this world. Actually, we see that, between dog and she-dog, between cat and she-cat, cockroach and she-cockroach, there is attraction. But he says that when a human being has obtained a human body, actually I know there are people in South India who never married their whole life also. There are men. But there was some Krishnan Prabhu in Cam Temple. You've seen that. They just wear pant shirt, go to office, and they live at home. Human beings actually don't feel these attractions. Generally, that's what he's saying, that they don't chase after the object of enjoyment. But due to previous conditionings or samskaras, that means if somebody has contemplated on the opposite sex for enjoying purpose, because of repeated contemplation, man also behaves like dogs or cockroaches or cats or other creatures. Otherwise, in general, human beings have a natural propensity for higher subjects. He says, you will find even if somebody is not spiritual, let us take Einstein, for example. On the same day of marriage, Einstein took lunch at home and went to lab. Same day of marriage, morning marriage, afternoon in laboratory. Yeah. And after a couple of months, one of his friends asked him, "Are you are practically living in the lab? Don't you think about who is sending you the dabba, prasad, your food?" So Einstein said, yeah, my wife is sending. So he was so much into intellectual, titillation. So human beings have many other alternatives higher than sex life. Sex life is actually, he says that all of them don't chase. But why human being chases like animals? The reason is because he has repeatedly, carried the sanskaras from the previous lives, he's saying. The mind had recorded certain enjoyable traits like beauty, education, wealth, fame, morality, etc., and favorable methods for association. When one finds prima facie some of these traits in a person and the opportunity to engage in association, then Kama releases his arrows. Kama means Kamadeva. Kamadeva and Rati. These two personalities are posted to travel around in this world. As soon as a person is doing this Dhyayato Shyanpunsa, they will come there immediately. You try this, immediately they will come. Contemplation started now. This fellow is contemplating on the sense object. Now he is developing attachment. Then they will send the sugarcane bough and the flower arrow they carry. And then they will send the arrow. And one becomes lusty and mad after that. Let us see what are the arrows they send. The first arrow makes one infatuated. You see, one constantly thinks of the other party. And if the opportunity permits, they talk with the person or meet each other. Like for example, when one goes to a college, then one looks towards the members of the opposite sex. And who is the person who is beautiful or who is attractive, who can be my friend. And they make, GFBF. They make a girlfriend, boyfriend. They make that and they start sending WhatsApp messages. They connect. That's what he's saying. As soon as opportunity permits itself, they talk to each other and meet each other. This is how the infatuation is deepened. That means the infatuation is deepened by sending messages, receiving messages, joking, or talking. This is actually the interactions. If you don't interact, where is the development of lust? Tell me. There is no time for lust. There is so much to do in Krishna consciousness. One lifetime is not enough. But people take axe and hit their own feet. This is the craziness of the conditioned soul. Here is where everything begins. The infatuation increases by contemplation and interaction. That's the first thing he says. Then the second arrow, he says, next arrow, pierces the heart. Here you see Vishwamitra and Menaka, you see. So he contemplated on her and she was doing magic, trying to allure him. After he gave her a baby, Shakuntala, then he came to his senses. Correct, no? So then what happens in the next arrow? The heart separation becomes unbearable. One's mind and senses are agitated at that time. Now see, separation becomes unbearable, he says. When you connect with a person, then one longs for the connection. Imagine, for example, summer vacation, 2 months you are going to be separated. You are in one place, she is in another place. Then the separation becomes unbearable. Mind and senses are agitated. Then the couple increases their interaction until it covers the entire day, he says. That means some people, there are boys who interact on chat for 3 hours also. You know that? 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours also. You chat and get the reply. Again chat, again. It goes back and forth. That's what he's saying. Until it covers how much? Entire day. They derive mellow from each other's association. And what is that? Nectar to start with. Then follow other things like children, household, responsibilities. Everything follows that. It's the second arrow. Because one is feeling separation, one wants to connect. Initially, one wants to connect little, and then one wants to connect entire day. And then one wants to touch. And then the touch, there is a one considers one another like honey, nectar, and things like that. And the result is children, household, everything comes. But such state does not last for long. As the third arrow pierces the heart, which begins to burn. Therefore, he says, Kama krodho vijayate. The krodha actually burns. Now, why it burns? Why the krodha comes? Shikshashtakam Prabhu was going in west. He was traveling in a car. There was one signal just ahead of his car. There was one boy driving the car, and there was a girl sitting by his side. Probably they were friends. They were interacting. They were making a public display of love by embracing, kissing, and all that. Then the next signal, the car stopped. That girl was punching on him. He was punching on her. They were hitting. So he said, Kamat krodho vijayate. Just within one signal. Because when both people see one another as object of exploitation, the result is krodha. And this is the reason why in families there can be quarrel. The quarrel mainly comes because it's not only a question of husband-wife, even your friends also. If you treat one of your friends as an exploitable object, you want to get things out of him and you don't want to serve him, then that relationship will not last long and that will be an angry exchange very soon. You will see that. Because both parties are trying to get something out of the other party. Correct? Huh? Basically, the problem is exploiting mentality, whether it is family or friendship, anything like that. So therefore, it leads to heat or this thing. And then he said the heat produces dryness. As see the picture also here. That is the height of Shanmugha, the first picture you see. Somebody is going with a pot on the head, is watching. Then there is a desire for coming closer. Then the karma, and then anger comes. And then one falls down into the material pool. That's what he's saying. The heat produces dryness as the fourth arrow pierces. One enters the extreme state of pain, breakup or unwanted pregnancy, abortion, divorce, depression, stress, alcoholism, violence, ulcers, hair loss, etc. All these things. And then finally, karma releases the fifth arrow, which just destroys the victim. Suicide, acid throwing, murder, etc. Yeah? Death separates even the most intimate couples. In this way, one suffers in this life and next, entering into ghostly species by suicide or something like that. Although it began very in an interesting manner, it is ending in a very dangerous manner. Correct, no? You can see that. All the 5 arrows are meant to increase the intensity of material entanglement and degrade one into the darkest pits of illusion. This is entanglement. Entanglement. You just want the word, no? Entanglement, correct? These 5 arrows lead to one gets entangled. I forgot to put that picture. Very fitting picture, isn't it? So, all the 5 arrows, okay. And then 2 options are normally available for conditioned souls. 2 things they can do. Here Daksha is telling to Narada, okay, somebody may go to the scriptures and ask, oh, the attraction between man and woman ultimately leads to inevitable suffering in this world, as the 5 arrows of karma does. Correct, no? So, then what is the solution to this? There are 2 solutions which are given by Daksha Prajapati and Ashtavakra. What Daksha Prajapati type people say, Nanubhuya na janati human vishayati kshnata nirvidyate swayam tasmat na tata vinnati parehi. He's saying that na anubhuya na janati. He says that unless the conditioned souls get into this kind of relationship and they enjoy this kind of so-called mental enjoyment and get solid kicks and get frustrated completely, they'll develop a solid fear for enjoying this type of man-woman relationship. So much so like that we say that cat, who drank hot milk once, later on buttermilk, he was also blowing that and drinking because his mustache got burned. Correct, no? In the same manner, he said that unless one develops a realization of the sharpness of mental enjoyment, one is not going to give up. That is Daksha Prajapati's philosophy. So, these people say that, like Sambhog say Samadhi, they say, no? What is the meaning of that? You do so much Sambhog, you get frustrated with it. And you will never want to enjoy anymore. Not only not enjoy, you will develop fear towards it. Just like the cat developed a fear for that, anything white. Not only hot, anything white. Because buttermilk is not hot. But he was developing funkar pita, we say, no? What is it? Doodh ka jala, chaskar funkar pita. Like that. So, that's what is his philosophy. He says that some philosopher, Daksha Prajapati, says that one must continue to enjoy material objects according to religious principles until one gets totally burnt out. The nature of passionate energy is that initially it appears like nectar, but later it becomes poison. Therefore, when the nectar turns into poison, it is appropriate time to engage in yoga. You name it, spiritual energy. He is saying first to do bhoga, get frustrated, then yoga. Like that, who is saying? Dakshaprajapati. But Prabhupada gives example in that verse purport. He says that when a woman is begetting a child in a maternity ward, at that time it's very dangerous, the type of situation when she has to bring the child out in the 9th month. It's extremely painful thing for a woman. A lot of labor losses will be there. Her body has to be nourished after that by many medicines and everything. So the child coming out of the mother's womb with the head below and legs up. That's some people cannot even bring out the child. They have to do cesarean. It's a very painful thing. But one child she begets, she comes back and tells her friends, enough. We had one child, now I don't want to have any more child. But Prabhupada says she will go 3 more times to hospital, beget 3 more children. She may say that, but again and again she begets children. That is the example he gives. Similarly, all of us have experienced. When you do mental enjoyment, at the time when you are burning and you are frustrated, you want to get rid of it. But later, after some time, the propensity for enjoying goes away or comes back. Comes back. See here. However, these karma mimamsakas ignore the fact that blue color I've shown you. After performing yoga for some time, the senses again become active, ready to derive nectar from material objects. In fact, by engagement in material sense gratification, the sanskara, passionate energy driving our desires and repeated transmigration, is only deepened. For example, the fellow who taught the Sambhoksha Samadhi, what he says, if you're angry towards somebody, shout loudly, whatever you want to tell that person, you shout. By doing that, he says, whatever is inside will come out and you won't face any problem. Personality. Gradually, the Krodha Sanskara develop. You will become a person surrounded by an aura of anger. So what that other fellow says, Sambhoga Samadhi, it's a wrong philosophy. It's a philosophy that fellow concocted from his own 200 gram of day matter. But there are some perverted intellectuals, perverted genius, who are giving such wrong philosophy. We should not present it. Although they may speak very intellectually. Even now there is a famous guru who is reaching out to millions of people. He speaks very smartly, very intellectually, many people are impressed. But he says, I never read Shastra books. Everything I get out of my speculation. Like that he says. So how dangerous it is. This is the way they will mislead the masses. You can see that. So if you're angry, don't express, don't suppress, sublimate, he says. That means one should learn to tolerate with wisdom. Without hurting yourself or others. In the same manner, also, if you went out, it is going to form sanskara, as he is saying. The passionate energy gets deepened again and again. It's not going to reduce by enjoyment. So his philosophy is wrong philosophy. So Daksha Prajapati, Narada is sitting there, and Daksha Prajapati was scolding him. He told Narada, you are a sadhu, I am a real sadhu, and all that he said. But why he was angry with Narada? Because he produced 10,000 boys, children, and sent them for, meditation in Narayanasara's area. Narayanasara is a holy river. They touched the sacred waters, lived a pure and clean life. Narada went there and thought these are pure souls. They can go back to Godhead without going through Pravriti Marg of this 4 things, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. They can take the Pancham Purushartha, Shuddha Bhakti, Paro Dharma, and go back to Godhead. So Narada taught them through some anecdotes, and they picked up very quickly. They all dedicated their lives to renounced order, and that made Daksha Prajapati very angry. Then again we got 1,000 more sons called Shavalasvas, and Daksha Prajapati again sent them for penance. Some of you may wonder, if this fellow is afraid, why should he not keep them in palace only? Why did he send them to again that to the same place? To perform the penance. Which means Daksha Prajapati was convinced that everybody should go to Gurukula, take training and take brahmachari training, and then become grihastha, then vanaprastha. According to him, you become grihastha and get solidly, kicked by Maya, and then he says that renunciation will come. And that is true renunciation according to him. according to Dasha Prajapati. Otherwise, your seeds of material enjoyment, karma bij will be there. Without frying them or burning them, you are likely to fall down. That is Saksha Prajapati philosophy, which is not totally false. It's partially true what he says. But to say that everybody has to do that is wrong. Narada wanted to teach the world that there are some good souls who, like our Haryashva Shavalas was, they actually were ready for going back to Godhead. The Narada Muni didn't want them to go through Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha and Brahmachari, Grastha, Vanaprasthana. Directly sent them for renounced order. And that is possible. If you faithfully follow the Guru's order only by hearing. Some people learn by hearing, some people learn by observing, some people learn by hearing, observing and experiencing. And some people don't learn even after hearing, observing and experiencing also. They get repeated kicks again and again. Punarapi dharanam, punarapi maranam. Still they will be scratching their head. They will not understand. Even after getting repeated kicks. Because Maya has a avranatmika shakti and a prakshipatmika shakti. In a chill, cold winter, somebody throws a blanket over you. You will consider it a curse or a blessing. Blessing. Oh, thank you. You put a nice covering over me. And then they take a stick and beat you. How will they feel? That's what Maya does. Maya puts a covering, puts us in illusion and then beats us. And you don't know whether she's giving enjoyment or suffering. You don't know. As called as Hlada Tapakari Mishra. This is told by Rupa Goswami. Hlada Tapakari Mishra means along with Hlad she gives tap also. Mishra means mixed. It's like sweet rice with stone particles. You can't enjoy that sweet rice. If you want pure sweet rice, go back to spiritual world. Only Hladini you will get. So, by experiencing, we are not going to give up. Even those who are grihasthas also you will find. Those grihasthas have become very, very sincere in devotional service. Like my Guru Maharaj used to often say that between the couple, there should be divine couple. If the divine couple, Radha Krishna, become all important for a grihastha devotee, they will be most happy family. They may have even 4-5 children. All are wonderful devotees. I have seen many families like that. Because their program is not sense gratification program. Their program is devotional service. Same with brahmacharis also. If a brahmachari is not fixed in Krishna consciousness, he is not going to be happy. He will be very morose because he caught one of these 5 arrows. Somewhere he got first or second or third or fourth. Some arrow has come. Kama's arrow has come. Okay, then there is Ashtavakra. He gives another solution, Tyaga. Other philosophers like Ashtavakra say that one must completely renounce material objects and engage in yoga because the material nature is a falsity. The perception of nectar or poison from material objects is due to illusion of the existence of these objects and one's separate ego. Through proper knowledge, vimarshanam, one can transcend the passionate energy and set oneself free from repeated birth and death. Like Shankara also says similar thing. He says, Nari stanabaranavi desham drishtva maga moha veshyam yetam mam savasadi vikara manasi vichintaya varam varam. He says, repeatedly think in your mind that the body of man and woman is all made up of flesh and bones and stool and bile and mucus stool, sputum and all these things. So when you think of these abominable things, then you will not be attracted to it. Just 1 minute. I'll show you one more thing. So you can say these are the things they do. Say Nirantaram Vicharo Yashrutartasya Guror Mukhat. One should repeatedly contemplate on what one has heard from Guru, that this body cannot make me happy. I am different from the body. I am spirit soul. Aham Brahmasmi. Tan Nididhyasanam Proktam Tachekagriya Labhite. Through this Nididhyasana, there's 4 stages of practice. First practice is called as It's called sadhana chatushtaya. First they do nitya anitya vastu viveka. Think about what is permanent. Nitya anitya vastu vivekam. You need a viveka buddhi to discriminate between what is temporary, what is permanent. Body is temporary. Soul is permanent. Body is pain producing. Soul is bliss producing. And the body may appear very attractive in the beginning. It's like nectar in the beginning, poison at the end. Whereas spirit soul, austerity is for the spirit soul, may be poison in the beginning, but nectar at the end. So these things one should know. Nitya, anitya, vastu vivekam. One should be able to see. We come with empty hands, we go with empty hands, and this kind of philosophy. Then second is iha mutrartha phala bhoga viragam, which means iha means on earthly planets, amutra means heavenly planets. Iha amutra artha phala bhoga viragam means in this world one should know that the objects in this earth or heaven, or in other words, one should viragam means renounce them. That means nadaram, najanam, nasundarim. Actually, not just externally, but in our mind. Because when you leave the sense objects externally and stay away from them, they enter your head. Then you have to remove them also. From there also you have to remove them. That is iha amutra artha phala bhoga viraga. Third one, samadhi, shama adi, shatka sampatti. Shama adi means what? Shama means there is antakarana, man, buddhi, ahankar, chitta. So one should actually control it. Similarly, dhamma means controlling the 10 senses, 5 jnanendriya, 5 karmendriyas. And uparati means even when the external sense organs are so restrained from the pursuit of objects, the cessation of the external organs so restrained, abandonment of the prescribed works according to scriptural injunctions. Actually, this is said in Gita also. Yasmat, what is it? Yastu atmaratireva syat atmatattascha manavaha atmani eva santushtaha tasya karyam navidyate. That person can give up the work. Who can give up the work? His subject matter for his discussion is spiritual. And his satisfaction is spiritual food. His relish and delight is spiritual. That person can give up all material work, he says. Is your continuous contemplation spiritual subject? Ask yourself. Is your satisfaction comes from spiritual food, or you are running spiritual food? Of course, somebody may say spiritual food is prasadam, they may say. Actually, when talking about spiritual food, the discussion of Krishna conscious philosophy and Krishna conscious activities, our Atata Brahma Jignasa ruchi in that, and also satisfaction in spiritual activities, and relish and delight in spiritual activities, then one can give up material work. Uparati. And then titiksha means tapatraya should be tolerated. Why? Because dualities, shamada, shita ushna, sukha dukkha, mana paman should be tolerated. Don't waste time with that. Because if you are going to talk about that, your time, spiritual time will be wasted. Then Shraddha in Guru and Vedas. And Samadhan means completely concentrating on the mind of God and Guru. Actually, when one becomes Samadhan, if you are focusing on God and Guru, you'll become very silent. That means you will become a good listener. You'll become a very good listener. Your talking will reduce. Unnecessary talking will be gone. No prajalpa. When one is completely focused on Guru and Krishna as the goal of life. So this is called as Shama Adi Shatka Sampatti. 6-fold qualities they should cultivate. And Mumukshatva. Shravana Manana Nididhyasan. They do these things. They study the Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, and Brahmam Satyam, all those things. They study Aham Brahmasmi. Manana, they reflect the teaching, reflection of the teachings. And then, so when they do these things, this is Mumukshatvam. That means always longing for attaining liberation. These are the 4 things they focus on. Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekam, Iha Amutra Artha Phala Bhoga Viragam, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshatvam. So when they do these things, these Tyaga people, they do these things. Some of it I told its relevance to our lives also, I told you now. But what is the problem? You will see. However, these Jnana Mimamsakas forget that even when one renounces material objects, the stored desires remain to be evacuated in different ways when opportunities are provided by Maya. The Hridaya Granthi is too tight to be to be untied by cultivation of imaginary knowledge and passive renunciation. Such tyagi yogis fall down due to dryness of the senses and take birth among species with dormant consciousness like plants. He says. So what he says, I'll tell you the essential meaning of this. He says that even when you adopt these 4 procedures I told you, of Nididhyasana, what the jnanis do, the yogis do, the dust of the material enjoyment propensities is settled like in a glass. It settles at the bottom. When you take a spoon and stir it, it will come again. Or like a grass, you trim it today, tomorrow it will come back again. So that is the problem with these people. The reason is they are negating the negative without engagement in the positive. And Krishna is positive. They have not engaged the mind and senses in devotional service to Supreme Lord. So because they have failed to engage the soul in positive cultivation of devotional service, therefore simply negating the negative will not do. It is just not possible. Therefore, even Stanford University research, for 45 years they did research on children at the age of 5, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20, like that. Up to 45 years, they found that the children who could restrain their mind and senses in the early stage could do many great things in life in the later stage. They became great leaders. They also did great things in the world. And children who did not restrain their senses and mind, later on, they became criminals and so many blunders they did, all that. But the good news for everybody they found is that at any stage of life, you can cultivate self-management. It is possible. And how do you do that? They said, don't tell people stop. Instead of telling stop, you divert your attention to something positive. For example, they found the children who sing a song or who walk around here and there. Actually, they were given say one Son Papdi is given. After half an hour, you will get one more. But in that half an hour, if you eat it, then you will how many after you will wait for the second one? 30 minutes if you are ready to wait. Imagine festival played yesterday. Son, but you have to keep it for half an hour, you should not touch it. Correct, no? So 1/3 of the children were able to do it. Ready to wait. Other 2/3 finished. But how could they wait? Because some of them kept the plate of Son Papdi and went around singing some song, jumping here and there, and they came back, half an hour was over. So you'd have divert the attention, they say. So those people who are absorbed in lusty activities, the best thing is they should divert their attention to something positive, Krishna conscious in the beginning. And then over a period of time, the spiritual absorption and correct understanding of the philosophy will dawn in our heads. And then spiritual absorption will become a nature for us. Then one will not have any danger from the mind and senses. So, but these fellows have no spiritual contemplation except that I am spirit soul, I am spirit soul, aham brahmasmi. That's the only contemplation. How many everything is a little difficult to keep saying like this. Correct? Huh? You have no other engagement. You see? It's like you go to the, PSCT or Bharati Vidyapit college, sit in the class. I am an engineer. I am an engineer. Engineer means go and attend the class, give the exams, pass the degree and then earn a degree, correct? No? Do some activity. They are not doing activity of the soul. Therefore, such yogis also fall down, he says. Due to mercy of Krishna and his representatives, we have access to an alternative, which is engagement in devotional service. Please all of you recite together. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So, the material nature is neither an object of our enjoyment, nor is it falsity. It's actually a reality meant for enjoyment of the master of the senses. Who is it? Master of senses? Krishna. And the sense objects, Krishna. He is the master of senses and sense objects. Similarly, our ego is neither an independent product of material nature, nor a falsity, which means, I am not an Indian, I am not a fair person, somebody else is not a black person, somebody is not tall or short, fat or thin, somebody is not a male or a female. All these things are superficial dress over the soul. I told you in the beginning of the class today, the soul is Chetan Vastu, Vastava Vastu. Krishna is also Vastava Vastu. But over that Vastava Vastu, actual object, there are many temporary objects just floating over it like amino acids and I told you calcium, potassium, magnesium. They're all, like Prabhupada says, a stool is hydrogen phosphate. Urine is urea. These are substances in the body which are hovering over the soul. And they are all dead things. But we are feeling lusty feelings inside that in the form of release of some chemicals and things like that. That is because the spiritual emotions have been forgotten and they have become perverted into material emotions. He is having like a very simple thing I'll tell you. The same instance, the same incident can be taken by three people in three different ways. You will see that, for example, somebody parked a car. You had a brown color car outside a shopping mall. When you came back, you saw a correct ball coming and hitting the glass. Glass broke. Immediately you see something happening here. Your blood pressure rises because of your attachment to car, isn't it? And then you simultaneously cry and you become angry also. You actually want to take the boys on to a task, because even if you repair the car, it will not look so nice. It's a new car. But then when you come down the steps, you find that there are two brown cars standing and your car is safe. Then you have a smile on your face. The car which was hit for somebody else's car, you say, thank God, it's not my car. See, that means this is called as raga and dvesha. Initially, he felt dvesha towards the boys who broke the car or something. So in this world, you find happiness and distress. We are repeatedly tossed by those waves in this world, depending on our attachment to those objects. That's the main problem. That means he was identifying with the car. You agree? It's called aham car. I am the car. Either he thought. Correct? Yeah, he's identifying with the car. Same way, like, when we were small kids, we used to wear a new dress on Diwali day. Correct? Like somebody was having a golden colored dress. And then there are frills and everything. And one is looking in the mirror in this way, that way, and you want to show to all your friends. You go to friend's house and they come to your house, correct? And then you're entering somebody's house fastly. Some nail. Like that, it just tore your shirt. Whole thing up to this, it got torn. Isn't it? And to the degree you will cry will depend on how much you are attached to that shirt. Now, probably you may not cry now. You're grown up now. Correct? Now, you throw one and take another one. Correct? Now? But depending on our attachment. So that's what actually the material attachments can be transcended by spiritual attachment. We need something to rise above, and that's something they do not know. The impersonalists don't know. But the Vedanta Sutra is all about that. If you read the Taittiriya Upanishad, the last part, the Taittiriya Upanishad, after that, Rasobe, Saharasam, Hevayam, Labdva, Anandi Bhavati. In these verses, he explains the absolute truth. He has a smiling face. It says that. Muda word is used. He has a face that gives happiness. And he talks about his hand, he talks about his leg, and the whole Satchitananda body. Even in the Upanishads, you will find such description. You will find that. So he is a personification of Ananda, he says. He's personified bliss. Krishna is personified bliss, it says. So therefore, he says, similarly, our false ego creates problem in this world to identify with material objects. Therefore, it needs to be purified of all material designations, identification of one's body as a self, and then engaged in the service of Krishna, the constitutional position of our ego. True ego. True ego is what? I belong to Krishna and Krishna belongs to me. That is true ego. Like I told you about the peacocks and the cows, I told you. Indeed, the desires for bhoga tyaga are detrimental to cultivation of favorable devotion service and can be identified as deviations from the right path. In devotion service, since the senses and objects of the senses are engaged in service of Krishna, no sanskara for material enjoyment is produced. Actually, you become completely oblivious to material objects in the world. You may be living in the midst of great opulences, or you may be living in a thatched hut. Makes no difference for you. Whether you are Ambarish Maharaj or Sudama Brahman, whatever you be. However, the senses do not remain dry due to direct association with Krishna, who is like the juice. He is the reservoir of all mellows. The work, according to religious principles, is performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, not for our own ego. So it liberates the ego from repeated transmigration. The cultivation of knowledge is based on factual position that once you go is an eternal servant of Krishna, not that everything exists is false. And the renunciation is based on the active principle of seva. Uh, Everything belongs to Krishna, so everything is supposed to be used in Krishna's service. That's the principle of renunciation. Yukta Vairagya, we call it. Yeah. And similarly, we don't say our attachment is not to the objects of the world. Our attachment is to Krishna. 7.1 Bhagavad Gita, right? What is that verse? Maya saktamana pata yogam yunjan madashrayah asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasasi tachruno. Yeah. Of course, there is no fall down to materialistic designations unless one commits offenses and Krishna withdraws his mercy. In the path of spiritual life also, we can fall down. Even in Krishna consciousness, if you commit offenses, it says here. The complete victory of the devotional process over Kama was demonstrated by Thakur Haridas. And when he was approached by a beautiful prostitute at the middle of the night in a secluded place, due to his attachment to the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, he not only resisted the attempts by the lady to enjoy with him, but also transformed her into a pure devotee. See that? So now I have made a PowerPoint. I'll quickly show you revision of what we did till now. How can we conquer lust by love? See, these are the 5 arrows I told you. Infatuation. Infatuation means, becoming possessed of a ghost of lust. One becomes mad, blah, 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 one wants to chase after that object, like that infatuation. And that leads to agitation in the mind. And heart burning, extreme dryness, and destruction. Look at the picture. Who is that? Kamadeva is sending arrows. And below Kamadev's feet, some different poses are given. One is subject to different poses of the members of the opposite section. One gets bewildered by their laughter, by their walk, by their speech, by their connection. And then, and then he says, these are the things I told you. Explain this to you. Here you can see the man, he's already married, but he's attracted to some other woman, which is an improper desire. One should treat every other woman as a mother. Matravat. So even if another man's wife is very good looking, one should treat her like a goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Ashramit Radharani. Prabhupada told the devotees in the early days, in the temple there was also Brahmacharini ashram. Brahmachari ashram. Prabhupada told brahmacharis that you should see all these girls as gopis of Krishna. Then you will not want to enjoy them. You will imagine like Lalita, Vishaka, Chitra, Tungavidya, Rangadevi, Sudevi. When you see all of them in Mayapur standing next to Radha and Madhav, you will only want to assist them in service to divine couple, correct? No? You can give them a chamar to offer, you can give them a ghee lamp to offer. Even one should see one's spiritual master as well as Paramparacharyas and Goswamis as assisting servants of Krishna, Radha and Krishna, like that. So, but here he is having a wrong look. So because of that, what happens? See the picture below. Now he has to drink liquor to forget her. He's smoking and drinking liquor. Otherwise, he will get into wrong track. Otherwise, so in this way, all kinds of problems starts after. So Lord Shiva here, he burnt Kamadev. Then Rati, she cried out and she went to Parvati Mata. Rati is below. You saw her here? She's crying. She's unable to see the blaze of Shiva. And she went to Parvati Devi and said, your husband has become too angry on my husband. He burnt him down. Please give some idea how he can be saved now. So Parvati blessed her. Don't worry. He will enter the body of Krishna and then he will come as the son of Rukmini. And what is his name? Pradyumna. Like that, yeah. So either we become attached to opposite sex or we become angry like this. But Krishna can never be tempted by Kamadev. You see? You know this pastime, right? This is Naranarayan Rishi. At that time when Rati Madan went to send arrows on them, what happened? They started releasing many, many beautiful apsaras from his thighs. From many parts of his body, apsaras came in the top, you see. And one apsara came from his thighs. Therefore, her name was Uru Vashi. Uru means the thighs. Her name came to be called as Urvashi. So Madan and Rati became shocked. My Lord, we came to tempt him. Now he is setting out. And Prabhupada says in the purport there that a sweet shop owner is not attracted to eating sweets. you know, he's saying he has unlimited sweets, he says. So he is producing beauties. He has no problem. And other than Krishna, there is only one person who will also not be attracted, one who is staunchly situated in devotional service. They will not be attracted to, again, they will not be attracted to opposite sex for enjoying. Somebody asked one Maharaj in ISKCON, Maharaj, in spiritual world, Radha and Krishna are dancing, singing and all that we understand. But do gopis and gopas also get to meet each other? So he said, even if a gopi and gopa meet behind the bush, they will only talk how to serve Radha and Krishna. They will not talk anything else. Because the thought of bhogavriti or sense enjoyment never crosses their head. And this is not an exaggeration. If one becomes a sincerely seriously situated devotee, even in ISKCON, one will completely lose the enjoying mentality. Completely one can lose that. Actually, there is no, because it doesn't make any sense at all. Just like all of you, will you eat meat now, even if somebody provides you? Prabhupada said, even if you give 10 crore to my followers and tell them to eat meat, they won't touch meat. He said, in the same manner, one can completely transcend this mentality of bhogavriti. You can see, and then he gave that Urvashi as a donation to Indra, which Madan and Rati they took. Now, Chakshuragha Pratamam Chitta Sangas Tato Atha Sankalpaha Nidra Chedas. This I told you this verse. These are 10 things given. And then on the right side, it said, devotees manifest first 9 symptoms, culminating in becoming stunned in ecstasy. That means what happens to devotees, when devotees see the deity form of the Lord like Jagannath or Radha Chandra, you will see that the Lord's eyes have got a reddishness. It's called as he says in that one of the verse, Pashyanti te me ruchiranyam basantaha prasanna bhaktra arunalochanani. He says arunalochan means Lord's eyes are like a rising sun, it is said. Around Jagannath's eyes also you will see a red band. You've seen that? Then you have to wait for 15 days to see it. And you can see after the Anavasara period, you will see that. So what is that red band? It is his love for his devotees. So in Bhagavatam, there's a verse which says, when one sees the beautiful eye glance of Krishna, eyes of Krishna, devotees' desire to engage in Krishna's service is intensified and they go mad. They become more eager. Just like when a girl is a teenage girl, at that time a boy looks at her eyes and becomes attracted. And then he goes to his parents and says, I want to marry that particular girl. He is ready to take responsibility for her, correct? And then he is ready to go to your company, earn money, build a house, buy a car, buy a fridge. So much he has to provide. Some of you may think that, oh, such a big burden. But he doesn't feel it a burden because he is attracted to her eyes. This is a mundane example. In the same manner, when one sees the beautiful Kamala Nayanam of the Lord, the lotus petal like eyes, one's intensity of bhakti becomes more. Devotees also become agitated. This is a spiritual agitation. Like we can have material agitation, we can also have spiritual agitation. So, in the same manner, when one sees some dirty pictures, pornographic pictures and all in the computer screen, then one's lower nature is agitated. Then one releases semen and one is agitated by lower nature, and lusty, dormant seeds, kama karma bijas are germinated and they grow like that. Similarly, when one sees not only the beautiful form of the Lord, you hear about his qualities, you hear about his pastimes. So that not only agitates the heart of the devotee, it makes devotee go mad, and devotee develops the desire to render service after service after service. And devotee even dreams over Krishna even while sleeping at night. Devotee thinks, yugayitam veshena. One moment becomes like a million years for a devotee. When will I see that beautiful form? When will I meet that lovable person? Like that a devotee develops. That's what he's saying here. The same 10 things you can apply if you see 9 things. Attraction for Krishna's eyes, through our eyes, and then intense attachment in the mind. What happens when you keep seeing the form of Krishna and reading the devotee? Then even while going, coming, a devotee is thinking, therefore we should sing songs like Vivaha Virishesha or Yashumati Nandan. Huh? These songs are a Leela Varnan. Huh? And then we develop determination. What determination for what? Oh, I don't want anything in the world. I want only Krishna. The mother is crying, father is shouting. Huh? Still you will say, no, 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 at any cost. You do whatever you want. I have to go to Krishna now. Huh? I cannot leave him. Huh? There is one beautiful song in Tamil. I will tell you the meaning of that. எங்கிருந்தோ வந்தான் இடை ஜாதியான் என்றான் எங்கிவனை நான் பெறவே என்ன தவம் செய்து விட்டேன் கண்ணன் எங்கிருந்தோ வந்தான். What he says, in my life I was busily occupied with materialistic activity and repeatedly getting kicks of Maya, and I was frustrated. But suddenly one blue boy entered my life. Somehow I came to hear about him. Somehow I came to read about him. Somehow I came to know about him. And then when he came into my life, I asked him, who are you? Such a wonderful person. He says, I am a coward boy. He said. And ever since he entered my life, he says, what penances did I do that this personality on his own mercifully came into my life? And ever since he came into my life, he says, day and night I am thinking of him. And day and night, my heart is longing to be with him, meet him, and never leave his company, like that he says. So this is a time when Krishna enters our mind. Then we become determined. Then we lose our sleep also. Correct? Now, why we lose our sleep? Because you dream about Krishna. You may even forget to sleep enough. Like Prabhupada, was he sleeping in the night after 1 o'clock? See, he's speaking his ecstatic ecstasies in the form of Bhaktivedanta purports. And becoming emaciated. Yeah. Of course, both things can happen to a devotee. A devotee in separation from Krishna can become emaciated, like Srimati Radharani. Or Sita in Ayodhya, for example. Not Ayodhya, Sita in Ashokavatika. Like that. Or by receiving Lord's glance, the devotee can become plumpy also, healthy also. Like our Kardamuni. Kardamuni was very hale and healthy. Prabhupada says he was living in jungle. He was not eating, all kinds of, pulav, kadi, puran poli, all that. How he was plumpy? Because Lord's sidelong glance was always watching him. And remembering that Lord's glance, he became very healthy. He says, both are possible. Disinterested in external things. One loses taste for watching cinemas, movies, parties. One loses taste for material stories and, novels and everything. And then shamelessness. One doesn't feel any shame to go out in the street and dance, singing the holy names of Krishna. One has no shame at all. Like that verse says, Evam vratasva priyanama kirtya jatanurago tutachitta uchchaihi evam hasati rauti gayati unmadavan nrityati lokabahya. Lokabahya means he has no lokalaja at all. He doesn't feel any shame. What will others think about me? He is shameless. He is completely shameless in expressing his Krishna consciousness. And madness, after that, the unmadavan. Like Mahaprabhu ran after the sand dune thinking of it to be over. Then like that, he becomes mad and becomes stunned. And sometimes Mahaprabhu would become stunned and he'll faint unconscious when he is hearing some pastimes of Krishna. Like that. And instead of death, a devotee attains amritatvam. He attains the spiritual world. Sa amritatvaya kalpate. He goes beyond dualities. 2.15 Bhagavad Gita. Yam hina vyatayantiyate purusham purusharishaba samadukka sukam dhiram sa amritvaya kalpate. He attains amritatvam. Like that. So I told you about the bhoga. Bhogavadi is like Prajapati, Yaksha Prajapati, and Tyagavadi is like Ashtavakra. These paths are useless paths. Of Bhoga Tyaga is useless. I told you about Vishwamitra, Agnidhara, all these people. They paid Rishikesh Sevana. So example of tortoise and snake charmer is given. So one should restrain the senses in conditioned stage like all of us. We should withdraw our senses and only exhibit the senses when there is opportunity for Krishna service. Like a snake charmer removes the tooth of the snake by playing. Like that playing. Huh? Yeah, following the do's and don'ts. The devotees therefore may see hundreds and thousands of beautiful women with fascinating bodily movements and gestures, but not be allured, whereas such women would make ordinary yogis fall. Prabhupada writes. Devotees can be ecstatic. So we don't want to be static like yogis. We want to be ecstatic. Like you see, these fellows are ecstatic. So Prabhupada says, Shri Prabhupada ki, और भक्त वृंदा की जय. Thank you very much.